did he get his purchase?" I asked. "It's hard to say. If it were merely wild tribesmen like the Bedouin, he might have got a reputation as a saint and miracle worker. Or he might be a fellow that preached a pure religion, like the chap that founded the Sanusi. But I'm inclined to think he must be something extra special if he can put a spell on the whole Moslem world. The Turk and the Persian wouldn't follow the ordinary new theology game. He must be of the blood. Your Mahdis and mullahs and imams were nobodies, but they had only a local prestige. To capture all Islam, and I gather that is what we fear, the man must be of the Quraysh, the tribe of the Prophet himself. But how could any impostor prove that? For I suppose he's an impostor. He would have to combine a lot of claims. His descent must be pretty good to begin with, and there are families, remember, that claim the Quraysh blood. Then he'd have to be rather a wonder on his own account, saintly, eloquent, and that sort of thing, and I expect he'd have to show a sign, though what that could be I haven't a notion. You know the East about as well as any living man. Do you think that kind of thing is possible?" I asked. "Perfectly," said Sandy with a grave face. "Well, there's the ground cleared to begin with. Then there's the evidence of pretty well every secret agent we possess. That all seems to prove the fact. But we have no details and no clues except that bit of paper." I told them the story of it. Sandy studied it with wrinkled brows. "It beats me, but it may be the key for all that. A clue may be dumb in London and shout aloud at Baghdad." "That's just the point I was coming to. Sir Walter says this thing is about as important for our cause as big guns. He can't give me orders, but he offers the job of going out to find what the mischief is. Once he knows that, he says he can checkmate it. But it's got to be found out soon, for the mine may be sprung at any moment. I've taken on the job. Will you help?" Sandy was studying the ceiling. "I should add that it's about as safe as playing chuck farthing at the Lewes Cross Roads the day you and I went in, and if we fail, nobody can help us." "Oh, of course," said Sandy in an abstracted voice. Mr. Blankiron, having finished his after-dinner recumbency, had sat up and pulled a small table towards him. From his pocket he had taken a pack of patience cards, and had begun to play the game called the Double Napoleon. He seemed to be oblivious of the conversation. Suddenly I had a feeling that the whole affair was stark lunacy. Here were we three simpletons sitting in a London flat and projecting a mission into the enemy's citadel without an idea what we were to do or how we were to do it. And one of the three was looking at the ceiling and whistling softly through his teeth, and another was playing patience. The farce of the thing struck me so keenly that I laughed. Sandy looked at me sharply. "You feel like that? Same with me. It's idiocy, but all war is idiotic, and the most whole-hearted idiot is apt to win. We're to go on this mad trail wherever we think we can hit it. Well, I'm with you, but I don't mind admitting that I'm in a blue funk. I had got myself adjusted to this trench business and was quite happy. And now you have hoiked me out, and my feet are cold." "I don't believe you know what fear is," I said. "There you're wrong, Dick," he said earnestly. "Every man who isn't a maniac knows fear. I have done some daft things, but I never started on them without wishing they were over. Once I'm in the show I get easier, and by the time I'm coming out I'm sorry to leave it, but at the start my feet are icy. Then I take it you're coming?" "Rather," he said. "You didn't imagine I would go back on you." "And you, sir?" I addressed Blankiron. His game of patience seemed to be coming out. He was completing 8 little heaps of cards with a contented grunt. As I spoke, he raised his sleepy eyes and nodded. "Why, yes. You gentlemen mustn't think that I haven't been following your most engrossing conversation. I guess I haven't missed a syllable. I find that a game of patience stimulates the digestion after meals and conduces to quiet reflection. John S. Blankiron is with you all the time." He shuffled the cards and dealt for a new game. I don't think I ever expected a refusal, but this ready assent cheered me wonderfully. I couldn't have faced the thing alone. "Well, that's settled. Now for ways and means. We three have got to put ourselves in the way of finding out Germany's secret, and we have to go where it is known. Somehow or other we have to reach Constantinople, and to beat the biggest area of country we must go by different roads. Sandy, my lad, you've got to get into Turkey. You're the only one of us that knows that engaging people. You can't get in by Europe very easily, so you must try Asia. What about the coast of Asia Minor?" "It could be done," he said. You'd better leave that entirely to me. I'll find out the best way. I suppose the Foreign Office will help me to get to the jumping-off place? Remember, I said, it's no good getting too far east. The secret, so far as concerns us, is still west of Constantinople. I see that. I'll blow in on the Bosporus by a short tack. For you, Mr. Blankiron, I would suggest a straight journey. You're an American and can travel through Germany direct. But I wonder how far your activities in New York will allow you to pass as a neutral. I have considered that, sir, he said. I have given some thought to the peculiar psychology of the great German nation. As I read them, they're as cunning as cats, and if you play the feline game, they will outwit you every time. Yes, sir, they are no slouches at sleuth work. If I were to buy a pair of false whiskers and dye my hair and dress like a Baptist parson and go to Germany on the peace racket, I guess they'd be on my trail like a knife, and I should be shot as a spy inside of a week, or doing solitary in the Moabite prison. But they lack the larger vision. They can be bluffed, sir. With your approval, I shall visit the fatherland as John S. Blankiron, once a thorn in the side of their brightest boys on the other side. But it will be a different John S. I reckon he will have experienced a change of heart. He will have come to appreciate the great, pure, noble soul of Germany, and he will be sorrowing for his past like a converted gunman at a camp meeting. He will be a victim of the meanness and perfidy of the British government. I am going to have a first-class row with your Foreign Office about my passport, and I'm going to speak harsh words about them up and down this metropolis. I am going to be shadowed by your sleuths at my port of embarkation, and I guess I shall run up hard against the British legations in Scandinavia. By that time, our Teutonic friends will have begun to wonder what has happened to John S., and to think that maybe they have been mistaken in that child. So when I get to Germany, they will be waiting for me with an open mind. Then I judge my conduct will surprise and encourage them. I will confide to them valuable secret information about British preparations, and I will show up the British lion as the meanest kind of cur. You may trust me to make a good impression. After that, I'll move eastwards to see the demolition of the British Empire in those parts. By the way, where is the rendezvous? This is the 17th of November. If we can't find out what we want in 2 months, we may chuck the job. On the 17th of January, we should foregather in Constantinople. Whoever gets there first waits for the others. If by that date we're not all present, it will be considered that the missing man has got into trouble and must be given up. If ever we get there, we'll be coming from different points and in different characters. So we want a rendezvous where all kinds of odd folk assemble. Sandy, you know Constantinople. You fix the meeting place. I've already thought of that, he said, and going to the writing table, he drew a little plan on a sheet of paper. That lane runs down from the Kurdish Bazaar in Galata to the ferry of Ratchik. Halfway down on the left side is a café kept by a Greek called Caprasso. Behind the café is a garden, surrounded by high walls which were parts of the old Byzantine theatre. At the end of the garden is a shanty called the Garden House of Suleiman the Red. It has been in its time a dancing hall and a gambling hell, and God knows what else. It's not a place for respectable people, but the ends of the earth converge there, and no questions are asked. That's the best spot I can think of for a meeting place. The kettle was simmering by the fire. The night was raw, and it seemed the hour for whiskey punch. I made a brew for Sandy and myself, and boiled some milk for Blankiron. What about language? I asked. You're all right, Sandy? I know German fairly well, and I can pass anywhere as a Turk. The first will do for eavesdropping, and the second for ordinary business. And you? I asked Blankiron. I was left out at the Pentecost, he said. I regret to confess I have no gift of tongues, but the part I have chosen for myself don't require the polyglot. Never forget I'm plain John S. Blankiron, a citizen of the great American Republic. You haven't told us your own line, Dick, Sandy said. I'm going to the Bosporus through Germany, and, not being a neutral, it won't be a very cushioned journey. Sandy looked grave. That sounds pretty desperate. Is your German good enough? Pretty fair. Quite good enough to pass as a native. But officially I shall not understand one word. I shall be a Boer from Western Cape Colony, one of Maritz's old lot, who, after a bit of trouble, has got through Angola